Okay, and my computer went to sleep. That's great. Hi everybody, we are back and it is what time? 5:03. We'll call the meeting to order. So we'll begin with adoption of the agenda. Is there anything from admin on the agenda for the council meeting Wednesday, April the 5th, 2023?
Your Worship, administration would like to add three items. 2 borrowing bylaws and the tender award for the sand salt tenders.
Okay, and those are items.
Item 5.2, 5.3, and item 8.5.
Yep. Okay. Anything from council? Councilor Kulka.
I'll move that we adopt the agenda as amended.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? That is carried. We'll start with item 3.1, adoption of the minutes for the 15 March 2023 meeting. Any errors or omissions there? Councilor Kush.
Make a motion to move the minutes of March 15th as presented.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? All right, we're gonna skip here. We have a public hearing that doesn't start until 5:30, and we're way ahead of schedule on that. So we're gonna skip ahead to item 7.1. Heather's joining us by the miracle of technology. So if we can get this the seance working through the virtual meeting. Heather, are you with us?
I am with you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Can you take us through this low-income benefits program?
Sure. So good evening, Reeve Council. In front of you this evening is some information on the LICO, the low income benefits cutoffs that we were using for the new low income benefits program. Council requested at their last meeting that we come back with some of the numbers for discussion. And so what we have in front of you are two options. One, they both are about the same amount. Currently, we are using the Federal Statistics Canada LICO. As you can see in the background there, where for one person, the cutoff the income would be $14,431. And so, we'll be bringing back these options to say there is something that the Alberta FCSS Volunteer Income Tax Program uses as a cutoff for their taxes to be done for free by volunteer, and those numbers are in front of you. One person being 30,000, two people's 40,000, and then they go up in increments of 2,500 for each household person after that. They also, those numbers that are there from the Alberta Special Needs Assistant for seniors, the seniors benefits, and also low income assistance programs through the Alberta government. Those are the numbers that they use for being low income and being eligible to access the programs. So leave it out to you for some discussion.
Thanks, Heather. And that number's roughly double what the federal version was under the single person, correct?
Yes, yeah. I had a gentleman call me. He is going to be contacting the federal government because of the numbers that they have there.
Right. Okay. Councilor Wilhelm.
Through the chair to Heather, has there been many applicants so far this year for the program?
No, it's not effective until July 1st.
Oh, okay. I apologize. I should know that.
Yeah, we were trying to get this before it rolled out. Councilor Kush.
Just looking at the numbers originally from the federal one we were looking at to the FCS ones, I was really concerned with the initial numbers, with the amount of people we were actually going to be able to target, and moving up to the FCS ones, having that, a little bit more, in my opinion, realistic numbers with where the markets are today is a lot more comfortable with that one. And I'd be willing to make a motion, the council direct administration to utilize the FCSS volunteer tax program values for the low income benefits program and forward amended policy 6211 low income benefit programs to the governance priority committee for review.
Okay, very good. Motion on the floor from Councillor Cush. Any discussion on that motion? Councillor Dean.
Yeah, I definitely support the motion to push this to GMP. I just wanted to bring this out before the GMP discussion. So this program obviously came through the community services program. It was discussed at the GMP, and then it was discussed and approved at a council meeting. And unfortunately, I missed both. That was about the time that our son was being married in Philly. And I thought, and John, maybe you can correct me, when we discussed this at the community services level, it was my understanding, it was my understanding, maybe I was wrong, that we were going to retain the benefits to seniors. So that program that was in existence for the flags and for the transportation allowance was going to remain. But then and because that was age specific, you know, the cutoff was, I believe it's 65 for anybody to apply for those benefits. We were then going to open up to the rest of the county, those people that were of low income. That's what I thought the whole program was going. And I missed those two meetings, and you know, that's what happens when you miss a meeting. Otherwise I would have brought this up then. But just to plant a seed when we get to the GMP, that was what I thought the intent was.
Councillor Cush.
At the meeting when we were talking as a council, I did mention that, and I did bring that up because that was a concern of mine. And our administration told us that the numbers they were running, they feel that it, at least to get the program going, that most of our seniors that were using the program are going to qualify within that anyways, under the low income, and that we would have to, you know, roll out the program and see how it affects everybody and then reevaluate it. But that is a concern that I had when this first came out.
Sure. Okay, and thank you for bringing that up. I did understand that discussion took place, again, wasn't there. So, again, to plant that seed, in my opinion, the seniors that live in our county deserve to be recognized. You know, they built the county, and I do not like the idea of taking that away and making it a means test. So, I'm just speaking to the motion to refer to a GMP.
Councillor Williams, go ahead.
I was just going to add that I talked to quite a lot of seniors about this, and that was some of the feedback that I got as well. So I definitely support that if it does come back, to have that portion, maybe something to talk about as well, just so we have that information.
So just so that I get this right, the idea on some of this, and I think we talked about the snowplow flags and whatever, but while this is fresh in my mind, I can, I guess I can speak to it. The idea that if I'm a multimillionaire and I'm taking free transportation and free this kind of thing, and we have people that you put a program like this out, it's designed to be targeted to people that need these services that can't do without them. And I understand, if you're a taxpayer and you've lived in the county a long time and you've struggled and done all these things, and I get it, but the idea of this was to try and make a targeted amount of help to a group of people that financially need it. So if we're going to do a seniors rewards program where congratulations, you made it to 65, you get a free Big Mac or something, then we can do that. But the discussion that we were having around the time, there's only so much money in the municipality to go around right now, and I'm just, that was the idea behind this anyway. So we can take it up at the GNP, but this is part of the problem. When you make these too broad, then they end up costing a fortune. So Councillor
Through the chair,
Prestige?
I spoke to one of the residents in the Blue Ridge area. Was very upset he was gonna lose this $300. He's a very well-to-do man. And, like John said, he doesn't need the $300, but it's free money, so he wants it. Which I have a problem with.
Anyway, it's a tough discussion, but we'll have it at GNP, because that's the motion to put it on the conversation at that point in time. Any other speaking to the motion? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right, I gotta make sure I'm going the right way here. Item 8.2, Briar Patch demolition tender.
Your worship, item 8.1.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, I put a tick next to 8.1 and didn't complete it. 8.1, 2023 dust control program rates.
Worship, members of council, the dust control policy identifies that dust control rates are to be set by council annually. Administration obtained pricing on calcium. The pricing increase is roughly 1 cent per liter, works out to about $10 on a 100-meter application and $21 on a 200-meter application. The rates last year were $425 for 100 meters and $750 for 200 meters and $4.20 per additional meter beyond the 200. Administration is recommending that council approves the 2023 dust control program rates with no increase, being at $425 per 100 meter application and $750 per 200 meter application and $4.20 per additional meter beyond 200 meters.
Okay, Councillor Kush.
Through administration, did we have much uptake on the program last year?
Through the chair to Councillor Kush, we had 3 residents and 1 company, so a total of 4.
It's not much.
Did we get a truck sold out though, or no?
Oh, yes,
Oh, we did, okay.
yes. We also apply our own product at the same time, so.
Okay. Councillor Dean.
I'd move that council approves the 2023 dust control program rates with no increase, at $425 per 100 meter application, $750 per 200 meter application, and $4.20 per additional meter beyond 200 meters.
Excuse me, thank you, Councillor Dean. Motion on the floor from Councillor Dean. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay, now we can do item 8.2. Briar Patch demolition tender.
Your worship, members of council, the 2023 capital budget included $100,000 for the demolition of the Briar Patch. Tender was let out. We had 8 bidders, pricing ranging from just under $80,000 to $713,000. Let's see, Road Bridge Services Limited was the lowest bidder, and the recommendation is that council awards the Briar Patch demolition tender to Road Bridge Services Limited for the value of $79,679.52, plus a 10% contingency of $7,968 if required. Taking in the engineering costs, the demo costs, and the contingency, that would put us roughly $6,147.48 over budget if we require the contingency. The administration is identifying that if we do need the extra $6,100, we do have $540,000 for a plow truck that we will not be spending until 2024. Those funds will be carried over, so those funds could be taken from that if required.
Okay. Any, Councillor Prestige?
I'm good with this, so I'll make a recommendation that council award the Briar patch demolition tender to Road Bridge Services Limited for the value of $79,679.52 plus 10% contingency of $7,968 if required.
Okay, very good. Motion on the floor from Councillor Prestige. Any discussion on that? Councillor Dean?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not discussion, I'm just, question about there's 6 or 7 different bids. The lowest is 79 and the highest is $713,000. Can you explain what's going on there?
No. I know the highest bid, actually I know the although the 8 highest bids were not in attendance at the pre-site meeting, or pre-bid meeting, so I'm guessing they took a shot, put a bid in. The lowest 2 were on site, so they did see what the project's involved.
Okay, thanks. Good.
That's a fair question. Anyone else? Questions, comments?
I'll just make a comment. McColeman and Son Demolition out in Edmonton, a very large demolition company. When they're not much higher, and they would have to move all their equipment from Edmonton from here. So I think it's fair.
Oh yeah, I have no question that it's fair. I'm just wondering how somebody goes from 304K to 713K. Like, was that? I don't know. Was hoping somebody could explain that to me, but administration says they can't explain it. So,
Through the chair of the council, when it comes to bidding, you always get a wild card. Somebody just throws a number in. If they get it, they're laughing all the way to the bank.
yeah.
They probably heard there was on-site rocket fuel or something they'd have to dispose of, so not the case. Okay, we still have a motion on the floor. Anyone else? I don't see anyone. I'll call a question. All in favor? Any opposed? That is carried.
Yeah. I've got the speaker on here.
20. Okay, we got a little technical glitch, but we'll get that handled.
Mr. O'Brien has joined us through Teams. Mr. O'Brien, do you mind? Oh yeah, he's muted himself. Sorry, can you mute yourself again? Mr. O'Brien, can you mute yourself? Oh.
Do you think we got time to try the
Mr. O'Brien, can you mute
Creek
yourself?
tender?
Please.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good afternoon, folks.
Can you?
Hi, Mr. O'Brien. We're not quite to the 5:30 yet. We'll just ask you to
Okay.
mute your mic, and we're going to try and knock one more item off the agenda, and then we'll open the public hearing at 5:30. Okay?
He's muted.
Good. Yeah. Okay. Horse Creek tender. Let's see if we can do this.
Worship members of council, 2023 capital budget included funds for the Horse Creek Road driving surface resurfacing and some sub-base repairs. Tender was let out, advertised. We had 4 bids. The capital budget identified $4.5 million for the project, which was to be borrowed and debentured. Although the budget consisted of $4.5 million for the project, funds are to be borrowed, so the amount of the bids is not really relevant or have an impact on the overall budget. Lowest price came in from Reconstruction for $1,787,900. $946.30. And the recommendation is that council award Horse Creek Road tender to E-Construction, a division of NPA Limited, for the value of $1,787,946.30, plus a 10% contingency of $179,000 if required. And we did budget $4.5 million. That was, we budgeted a little higher than what the engineers estimated, anticipating more of last year's pricing. The prices came in very nice for that project. Talked to the engineers today actually about what their thoughts were, why the prices came in. We budgeted early. We're getting good pricing. E-Construction is doing a number of projects in the area, so their costs are not a lot. So essentially, Woodlands County is getting a bit of a gift on this.
Okay, Councilor Dean.
Thanks. I'm just a little confused why we're being asked to award the tender, and yet we also have a borrowing bylaw to deal with. Why wouldn't we pass our borrowing bylaw first and then award the tender?
Through the chair to Councilor Dean, it's either way. If we pass the borrowing bylaw ahead of time and then council chooses not to award the project, then we have a bylaw that's passed. This way the project gets awarded and then the borrowing bylaw can be approved.
So could we make the motion, could we say contingent upon a borrowing bylaw being passed?
Definitely.
Okay, so I'd be prepared to make that motion then. That council award Horse Creek Road tender to E-Construction, that division of NPA Limited, for the value of $1,787,960.30 plus a 10% contingency of $179,000 if required, contingent on the requisite borrowing bylaw being passed.
Okay, very good. Motion on the floor from Councilor Dean, and I'm going to recognize Councilor Williams and Councilor Colkin.
You just said 960, but it's 946. So it was just an error in how you read the number.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you've got to, since we're videotaped on this, we better
So I said-
amend the motion to
I
the,
said 60 rather than
Okay.
46. That's all.
Oh, do you want me to just read it again?
go ahead, please.
Okay. Devin, you can help me with this. Okay, so I move that council award Horse Creek Road tender to E-Construction, a division of NPA Limited, for the value of $1,787,946.30 plus a 10% contingency of $179,000 if required, contingent on the requisite borrowing bylaw being passed.
Okay. Numbers are correct, so that correction in the number there. That motion's accepted on the floor. Councilor Colkin.
Yeah, through the chair to administration. When I was reading through this, I was looking at it, and the tender recommendation included the salt sand shed. So how does that fit into the whole picture? Just when I did the numbers, I couldn't quite line them up.
Through the chair to Councilor Colkin, that's correct. The asphalt pad for the sand salt structure is included in that number.
Okay. Okay, just wanted that.
That's a good deal.
You won't say anything until it's built. Okay, we still have a motion on the floor, so is there any other discussion on the motion? All in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay, that should bring us, look at that, 2 minutes. That'll bring us to our public hearing. Just give me 1 second here.
Hello,
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. How are you folks?
We're doing well.
Good.
We're on time here and everything, so
Perfect. Well, I'm an hour behind you right now. It's still 4:30 in BC.
oh,
I took a little break this winter to heal a few pains, so we're doing good.
did you? Good.
Yeah.
Okay, just give me 1 second here. We'll take it right up to the 5:30 mark. Welcome. So the public hearing is scheduled to begin at 5:30, and it is 5:30. So with that, I will start with an introduction. My name is John Burrows. I'm the Woodlands County Reeve and Counselor for Division 2, White Court West. And I'd like to just run around the room here, and we'll introduce all of the members of council. We'll start to introduce ourselves. We'll start with Councillor Williams.
Deb Williams, Division 7, Fort Superintendent.
Bruce Prestige, Counselor, Division 5, Blue Ridge.
Dave Cush, Division 1 Ensemble.
Peter Gilpin, Division 6, Freeman River, Goose Lake.
Jeremy Wilhelm, Division 4, White Court East.
And Alan Dean, I'm White Court Central.
Okay, thanks very much. And before we begin, I'd like to note that during a public hearing, we're reminded to respect the views of everyone and allow each individual their time to speak without interruption. So, also, each person willing or wishing to speak has up to 5 minutes to make a presentation to the council, and members of the public wishing to speak in relation to the public hearing subject will state their full name, identity, and the address of their Woodlands County property, and whether they're speaking for themselves or for another person or group. All discussions of members of council and the administration shall be directed through the chair, that's myself, and council doesn't debate during this. This is an information gathering process only, and the further readings will be dealt with after the close of the public hearing. Public hearings are to allow inputs on the facts and to offer the public an opportunity to provide their feedback. Public hearing is not intended to be a question and answer period. Questions and comments must be limited to items concerning the specific subject of the public hearing. So with that, I'll declare the public hearing for bylaw number 59, correction. I'll declare the public hearing for bylaw number 595/23-2023 LUA 01, land use amendment for PT Southwest 1-62-6 west of the 5th Meridian, and Plan 1084 KS Block 8 Lot 1 Direct Control Hamlet Commercial District to Rural RR Rural Recreation District open at 5:32. And with that, I'm going to ask the Manager of Community and Planning Services for the background on the hearing. And Peter McKay, you're the Development Officer. He's going to do that for us as she is not with us today.
Okay, so this is for the land use amendment application 2023 LUA 01 and bylaw 595/2023 to rezone Plan 108 for KS Block 8 Lot 1, which is zoned commercial, Hamlet Commercial, and part Southwest 1-62-6 west of the 5th, which is currently zoned direct control, to rural recreational. The purpose of this application to RR is to accommodate the existing uses on part Southwest 162-6 west of the 5th, and to change the zoning of Plan 1084 KS Block 1 Lot 8. I think that's wrong, but Block 8 Lot 1 to accommodate 2 new RV lots. The landowner has indicated the intent to amalgamate the lots into the existing part of Southwest 162-6 west of the 5th. As previously mentioned, the smaller parcel, which is Plan 10884 KS Block 8 Lot 1, is currently zoned Hamlet Commercial District, and the larger one is Direct Control, which was rezoned in 2003 from Reserve District. The marina and RV park are currently, development was approved in 2003 on that part Southwest 162-6. In our municipal development plan, it identifies the future use for the parcels as direct control district. The purpose of direct control is to enable land use and development to occur in areas of unique character or circumstance. Our MDP also indicates that the county shall strive to maintain and enhance recreational facilities. Future development should take place in accordance to Schedule C, which is attached, and the county shall foster river-related activities on the Athabasca River. The application to amend to RR lessens the red tape to the applicant. When the development permit is applied for permitted uses, it would come through administration rather than to council. Under RR, if the applicant applies for discretionary uses, there is an opportunity for any impacted and adjacent landowners to still voice their concerns and potentially appeal, which they aren't able to do if council makes the final decision. The recreational uses identified in RR is in keeping with the existing uses currently used on that RV park, which is the RV park, marina, office, and store, plus to allow for future development of recreational activities which align with the long-term goals of the MDP. Rural Recreational District is consistent with the neighboring district of the parcel to the east of the RV park and marina of part Southeast 162-6 west of the 5th Meridian, held under a disposition from the province. Council gave first reading to the bylaw at a regular council meeting on March 1st and scheduled the public hearing for today at 5:30 here in Fort Assiniboine. It was advertised in local newspapers for 2 weeks. The land use amendment was referred to government agencies, adjacent landowners, internal county departments for comments with no concerns. Those are all attached. Also provided in your package, there are 2 emails of concerns from adjacent landowners. Concerns cited are, is there room for expansion for future commercial development, and is a mix of commercial and recreational use a good idea? And another concern is the noise and uncontrolled activities. One verbal concern was received at the public consultation on March 28th. Was under a direct control district, allows council to control what is developed in the area, and a public hearing must be held, whereas with RR district allows the developer to make application to administration where permitted uses can be approved without consultation to the public. This is viewed as a benefit to the applicant and not to the community. That's basically it.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. At this point, I will provide council the opportunity to ask questions through the chair to administration and related bylaw 595/23. Any questions from council? Councilor Koken.
Yeah, just through the chair, Peter, just for clarification, there would probably be very little possibility to actually develop that commercially anyway because of its proximity to the riverbank. Would that be part of that
Through the chair to Councillor Kilkin. I know that through the history of these commercial lots on the south of the highway there, the county chose to keep a lot of those lots. Majority of them are owned currently by the county because through tax recovery, and we chose to make them Memorial Park due to the uncertainty of the riverbank and the stability of erosion, and therefore didn't want permanent structures built there. And I think that kind of sentiment goes through with this. It was future zoned as controlled district, but I do think that the current uses do fit into a district we already have, which is rural recreational, and expansion, it would all just be amalgamated into one anyway. So I don't think there would be much development there anyway to begin with.
Okay. Any other questions from council? Councillor Prestige.
Through the chair to Peter. So this parcel of land is really just the size of one town lot, is it?
You're talking about the smaller lot there, that's
Yeah.
the Hamlet commercial lot? Yeah, they're all the same standard size. I don't have the dimensions in front of me, but it's just that one lot.
And just for clarification too, the people that are here with us, if you want to look right behind you, there's a great big map too of the lots and everything, just so that everybody's looking at the same pictures. Councillor Culkin.
Yeah, one of the things that we have concern with as well would be exactly that, the fact that the proximity to the riverbank, because we have other locations that are giving us that kind of grief already. So, you know, of course, it's just good for the public to understand that it probably is going to be rezoned. It possibly could be rezoned to recreational, and that wouldn't be the same impact as if you were building a permanent structure.
Okay.
Is that a question, sorry? No.
Yeah, I think that was, you answered that question. It's just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and ask a question. So you've got, and I'll make sure that I've got, so section 123, rural recreational, that's what we're rezoning to, correct?
Of our section 123 of our land use bylaw?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, so under permitted uses, you've got marina, offices, private club or lodge, public utility building. So these are a lot of permanent structures.
Correct.
So how would if we go ahead and rezone this, how would the application go for, so at the moment, with it being direct control, absolutely anything that gets done on this land has to come through council directly, and then there's no appeal for it either by the landowner or by the public if they disagree with the decision of council on a direct control lot, correct? That's the current way it's done.
On one of the lots, correct.
On the large piece.
Correct.
Yeah. So if we zone it rural recreational, then somebody comes along and says, well, you know what, I want to put administrative offices on it. How does that go?
As the development authority, I would take that application myself, and if I felt there was, first of all, if it's a permitted use, it would have to be approved with a list of conditions, which would say built so far away from a river, engineered to mitigate floods. I could bring it to our municipal planning commission, even though it is a permitted use, and get the concerns of other people, of adjacent landowners. And then those conditions would be applied to that development permit, and it would have to conform.
Okay, and the reason that I'm asking this is because I just want people to understand this is not a rubber stamp type of process if you do the rezoning.
Correct.
So that's why I'm asking it a hypothetical.
Hypothetically, I would be able to approve it myself if I felt there was no impacted landowners, and I would assign a number of conditions based on what I felt would be safe and according to any of our other statutory documents.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Kush?
Through administration, just, I guess, what's the real benefit from the county perspective from rezoning those from direct control to recreation versus just leaving it as is?
As to rezone it, so for them both to be rezoned to rural recreational, it conforms more to that land use than it does to direct control, where its current land use and needs fit that one section of our land use bylaw a lot more than it does to direct control, where it's river activity, it's no permanent structures are there. They've and then it helps expand, and it suits all the other adjacent properties being rural recreational. Most of the properties along the river up to the boat launch are all zoned for rural recreational as well.
Okay. Councillor Kush?
And next, what would the, I guess I understand, changing from rural recreation where the campsite is, but the one, if the plot of contention is the one in town that's currently next to a commercial district and stuff, if we don't zone that and leave that direct in control, can we still pass the other one? Or are those, would that be a different application that would have to come in?
I believe, I'm not even sure. I think that it would, if we only rezoned one, it would only pass for the one, and then reapplication for the other. However, I think Hamlet Commercial does have intensive recreation use as a discretionary use, so it could technically even be a campground on a Hamlet Commercial. If applied for, it would go to our MPC. So so you could still apply for it on that one individual parcel.
Councillor Dean?
Am I able to ask questions of the applicant?
You will in a moment here. Additional information, council, yeah, the next part here will actually have the applicant speaking, and then council can ask a question clarification to the applicant directly.
In 5.1 or within this agenda item?
It's within,
Public hearing.
it's within the public hearing.
Okay, I'll
Yeah.
just wait then.
Okay. Anything else from council to admin? Okay, if not, I'm gonna move on to the next section here. I'm gonna invite the applicant joining us virtually. You can unmute your microphone. Unmute. Is that a
Okay,
thing?
can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay, good.
Technology's on our side today. That's good.
Yes, thank you very much.
So I'm just going to ask you, this is an opportunity to provide any new or additional information for council's consideration. And then if you want to have that conversation, then we can also, if council has some questions for you, they're going to have an opportunity to ask those as well.
Yeah, you bet.
So I'll open it up to you.
Basically,
Go ahead.
Basically the lot number one, the campground, it's been 21 years since I started, bought the property, and 6 years building, and we've been in operation since 2008, and we started basically a weekend campground up until 2011 and 2012. We went more to basically seasonal lots, which it works way better for us. It's easier to control. We don't have to deal with rowdy people. The attendants that I have in the campground are awesome. We provide lots of recreation for them, and it's basically built a community within a community. The campers, they buy food from Strawson's, their hair's cut at Melissa's, they get stuff fixed from Ready Fast. Luke loves them because they buy gas and they buy knickknacks and whatever. So it's been a real good deal for the community. I've had lots of people ask over the years, well, could we get a seasonal lot or two so that we could basically be here year round? We've got lots of people who would like to just park their RV or their motorhome and be here year round. But with the campground that we have right now, we're basically seasonal. I turn on the water the 1st of May And then come mid-September, once it starts cooling off, everything's shallow berry. So I shut the lines off, blow out the lines, and 1st of October, we're done. Having this one lot changed to be able to accommodate basically a couple of campers, it'd be better, I think, for that lot. The landowner that I purchased it from, Lawrence Morris, he actually, his shed was on my property for all the time that it was, just because of the way that the survey was, and we had a good relationship. And I said, when you're done and you want to leave, I would like to buy it. And I did buy it and let him live there for a year while he was still there, and it was paid for. But the house was not worth nothing. So basically there was mold in it, and we tore it down. And to me, it makes perfect sense to just put a couple of seasonal lots there where either workers or campers can just stay there on a year-round basis or switch out. So that's kind of where I was at on that lot, and I'll clean it up. I'll make it look very nice and appealing to the community. And yeah, it's just, that's what I'm looking for.
Okay. So at this point, if you've given all your statement there, I'll ask council if you have any questions to the applicant. I'm going to open it up to Councillor Dean since he asked first, and then Councillor Prestige. Go ahead, Councillor Dean.
Excuse me, thank you. So I see within your application that for reasons supporting the proposed amendment, you indicate that you'd like to install 2 seasonal lots with town water and sewer.
That is correct.
With winter service lots will be fenced and landscaped. So are they seasonal or are they 12 months a year?
Well, they would be, because we do have access to winter seasonal lots. I've had people ask if they could have them for a year-round lot. Or workers that come out and they're working in the area, they need a place to camp for the winter. It would work there as well. So yeah, basically I'd like to have 2 winter service lots there. Run them off each service would have a hydrant so that you could shut the water off down at the valve, and insulated and heated lines so that it's all there. I have power right below it, so basically everything's there. I just need to connect to the Hamlet water and sewer, run 2 individual services, and yeah, set it up.
Okay. Councillor Prestige.
Through the chair to Al, when you talk seasonal, so somebody could live there year round,
If they wished, yeah.
then that would be a permanent resident.
Yes and no, because some might only be for 1 year. Like with the seasonal sites we have down there right now, every year something's changing. Last year we went through 6 different campers. They come and they go. As far as a permanent residence, because it will be an RV, you never know how long somebody's going to want to stay. You know, whether it's a year, 6 months, 2 years on the same spot, you don't know. You know, but it just basically what the lot is. It's just 2 RV lots. I'm down here in the Soyuz right now. It's staying at the Spirit Ridge, and they've got a campground with 450 seasonal lots there, and their people are there for the summer, for the winter, and then they go north in the summer, and some are there in the summertime. So everything just changes. You can't say, well, they're going to be full-time permanent, because everything happens. Somebody might die or health issues, they pick up and they move on. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Dean.
Thank you. So just coming back to the notion of amalgamating this new lot into your campground, they're quite different uses. Would that be correct? Where the folks that are in your campground now, they're right next to the river and they have that environment, whereas this really is well above the river and it's a totally different experience?
They still have the banks of the river to look over. It could be boaters that want to be there year round as well. Like they can walk down the path. They're right at the marina. They'll still use all of the services that we have there. So it's open for whoever does camp there.
Okay, thank you.
It's just an addition onto the campground is all it is, with the exception of having 2 service lots.
Okay. Anything further from council? Councillor Cush.
Just out of curiosity, is there any future plans to make that from 2 service lots into expanding into your current campsite?
No, that would be basically the end of it. There's a spot just below that that is still on my property. I would put one more seasonal lot on that, going up to that existing lot, and then that's as far as I can expand. I'm done. I can't go anyplace else. It's enough, and if the next disposition, if that works out in my favor, I could build over there, but right now that's where I'm at.
Okay. Anything else? I don't see anything else from council. If that's the case, I'm gonna open it up to public feedback in favor first speaking and then opposed. So I'm gonna call on anyone in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the proposed bylaw. And as a reminder, please state your full name, your property address, and whether you're speaking for yourself or for another group. Go ahead, sir.
Chris Reddington, owner of Ready Fast Fix It. Speaking on behalf of myself, and I've also spoke to Ed Strawson, and what Al indicated, these people do support all the businesses in Fort Assiniboine. They're here, just not weekend warriors, they're seasonal, and yeah, they support all the businesses, the farmers market, the Legion, Strawson's. Ed was very happy to have the clientele there. I won't give you the number he gave me, but he said it really increases his business. I know I've sold a couple of ATVs to him, propane gas, car wash, the whole works. They support the community.
Okay, thank you very much. Do you wish to speak as well? No, you're good? You're good. I don't want to assume. Okay, so I don't see anyone else. No one wishes to speak against. All right. Does council have any additional questions related to amending bylaw 595/23? Nothing to the applicant, nothing to administration. Okay, I would like to thank the presenters. Thank you very much for your questions and feedback relating to the matter and your statements. And with that, I am going to declare the public hearing for amending bylaw 595/23 closed at 5:56 p.m. Okay. And with that, we're going to take a quick break here for, let's come back at 6:10.
on.
Thank you. Okay, we're back. It is 6:14. We've gone a little long. We're going to resume the agenda at item 8.4, and we're just going to continue on to clean up 8.4, 8.5, and 8.6. Then we're going to move on to the two bylaws that we've, actually there's, we'll move into bylaws after that, and then we'll be back on track here. So 8.4, that's Veterans Avenue ANC Road Tender Award.
Worship, members of council, the ANC Road reconstruction and the Blue Ridge Road reconstruction projects were tendered together, being similar types of work. The tender was let out and advertised. There were 5 tenders received. Low bid was E-Construction for $2,777,304.60. The project breakdown is for the Old Blue Ridge Road at $1,093,153, and the ANC Road $1,551,000. No, that's not right either. $1,551,899. When including the 10% contingency, the Old Blue Ridge Road is $1,202,468.30. The ANC Road, $1,707,088.90. The 2023 capital budget included $1.5 million for the ANC Road and also included $1,320,000 for the Old Blue Ridge Road. When taking into consideration the 10% contingency, the ANC Road has a potential of being over budget by approximately $202,000, while the Old Blue Ridge Road has a potential of being under budget by $117,000. The recommendation to council is that council awards the ANC Road and Blue Ridge Road tender to E-Construction, a division of NPA Limited, for the value of $277,304.60, plus a contingency of 10% of a value $277,300 if required. The funds for the Old Blue Ridge Road are actually in the capital budget, part of the county's budget expenditures. The $1,707,000 is to be borrowed and debentured to fund that project. Okay.
Any questions to admin on this?
Just,
Councilor Dean?
just once again, when we come to the borrowing bylaw, we can talk about amortization and length of term and interest rates and all that, but I have no problem with the tender as it's.
Okay. Councilor Cush?
Here's my quick, I understand we had the Old Blue Ridge, road, that's in the budget. The ANC Road, is it something where we need to venture that, or to just check it in the shape of the road? Is it something we can pull it off and try putting into next year's capital budget?
Through the chair to Councilor Cush, that portion of the road is pretty much done. To try to get it through 2 more springs, it's gonna take some effort.
You're talking about ANC, right?
Yeah.
We had identified these 2 ventures in the budget discussions as well too, so.
Yes.
Councilor
I'd
Cush?
say more of a general question for anybody asking. I mean, we have the one budgeted, and I just, for residents or anybody paying attention to this, you're asking why we didn't push it off, just I understand the road's done, it would take a lot of money to get it through to the, next year budget anyway, so.
Okay. Anyone wish to make a motion? Councillor Dean.
I'm gonna make that motion, but I'm gonna do it again, dependent on the board bylaw. So I move that council award ANC Road and Blue Ridge Road tender to E-Construction, a division of NPA Limited, for the value of $2,777,304.60, plus a contingency of $277,300 if required, contingent on council passing the borrowing bylaw.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? I see no. Councillor Prestige.
The chair, the old Blue Ridge Road is not dependent on the borrowing bylaw. That one we have the money.
Right.
If you wanna change your motion to say the borrowing bylaw just for the C road.
Sure, I would accept a friendly amendment that the ANC Road is contingent on the borrowing bylaw.
Okay. And that's, you're accepting that as a friendly amendment?
I am.
Thank you. Okay. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. So that'll bring us to item 8.5, sand and salt shed tender.
Your worship, members of council, again in the 2023 budget was included a total of $523,000 for the White Court sand salt structure and $450,000 for the Fort Assiniboine sand salt structure. The two projects were combined into one tender, let out. There were 3 bids. Low bid being Edge Innovations, Inc. for the tender price of $881,928.14. The breakdown of the low bid is Fort Assiniboine structure, $357,948.54. And if the 10% contingency is included, that works out to $383,745. The White Court structure, $481,983.02. Adding the 10% contingency works out to $530,183. Both projects would be under budget. The low bidder has done the types of projects in the past and is recommended by MPE Engineering. And the recommendation is that council awards the White Court and Fort Assiniboine sand salt structure tender to Edge Innovations, Inc. for the value of $881,928.14 plus a 10% contingency of $88,000 if required. I'd also like to add, if council does award the tender, the existing structure here at the fort, there will be an RFD at the next council meeting declaring that surplus. We will put it out for bids. We'll have a viewing. Anyone's interested, the structure will be available. The tender for the construction of the one here includes the demolition of that one.
Councillor Wilhelm.
I'm just gonna make a motion that council award White Court Fort Assiniboine sand salt structure tender to Edge Innovations Incorporated for the value of $881,928.14 plus a 10% contingency of $88,000 if required.
Okay. The motion's accepted. Councillor Culkin.
Yeah, just one more question through the chair to administration. And this is just to clarify for the public, is that this is being done so that we can meet the environmental requirements that are going to be ongoing for the way that we handle the product that's in there.
That is correct.
So it's part of what we need to do under our strategic plan.
Through the chair to Councillor Culkin, that is correct. salt, road salt is being declared a, can't remember the exact term, but an environmental hazard. So we have to, as a user, we have to start containing as much as we can.
Thank you. All right, motion on the floor, still Councillor Kush.
Just one quick question to administration. Where is the white court shed being built?
Through the chair to Councillor Kush, it is being built on the west side of the road shop. There is a asphalt pad there for that structure to go on.
Okay. Anyone further speaking to the motion? See any? I will call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Item 8.6. Andre.
Members of council. The airport master plan identified that a marketing plan was one of the items required for the CYZU airport. Administration through the communications department enlisted services of the county's graphic designer. A number of options were provided to the airport advisory committee. Those options are attached to the RFD. It was presented at the airport advisory committee, and the committee has recommended that council approve logo option number 1 for the use of CYZU advertising and promotions. Option 1 is distinct, encompasses Woodlands County branding. It focuses on the airport reference by having an approved airport logo. Administration can begin the task of branding for future events, advertising, and promotion.
Councillor Wilhelm.
Not a question, just a note. When you're looking at the logos, that first page that comes up, the selection that we made is those ones there. You can see a little tick on the C on the bottom two on the first page. That's deleted. That shouldn't be on there. So it'll be those 3 looking logos, but without a little tick on the C. Correct, sir?
Correct. I should add, we have preliminarily had people look at this. A lot of excitement on it. Very positive logo.
Councillor Williams.
I don't have any input because I'm not a very artsy person, but I'll make a motion that council approve option 1 for the use of CYZU advertising and promotions. Another graphic
You
design.
get bonus points if you can use the phonetics. The
Zulu underwear.
uniform. All right. Motion's accepted. Thank you, Councillor Williams. Councillor Kush.
I do have one quick, I do like the first one. I'm just wondering why we wouldn't have Woodlands County or something written underneath it still.
Question to admin. Go ahead.
Through the chair to Councillor Kush, giving the airport, we consider this a sub-brand. So the brand itself actually encompasses a lot of the branding that the county has. But giving the airport its own identity actually helps it stand on its own pillar. So a lot of our promotions are talking about the airport itself, a lot of the developments. So Woodlands County is still always a prominent feature, but giving the airport its own identity actually helps it support itself, which is a positive thing. While we're trying to refresh some of the image of the county, the look that you see here as presented on option 1 is the direction that it's going as Woodlands County as a whole, so it really does tie in. We also don't want to detract from the logo itself by adding too much content.
Anything further? Speaking to the motion? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? It's carried. All right, that wraps up new business. So, we're gonna go back, way back, to 5.1. Bylaws. Gotta find the right spot here now. All right, Mr. McKay.
To the chair and council, this is for, second reading of bylaw 59523. The MDP that we currently are using, has a focus to, foster river-related activities on the Athabasca River, rezoning to rural recreational district. Does that and matches the district of the parcels that are adjacent to the east of the current RV park. It will help reduce red tape and give the Development Authority the approval powers on any applications while still allowing adjacent impacted landowners the opportunity to comment and appeal decisions if there is a discretionary use. Rezoning from direct control to RR allows the owner the opportunity to expand and follow the current existing uses on that parcel, and hopes to amalgamate the two into one with the same land district. The recreational uses identified in RR keep with the existing uses that are on that parcel and align with the long-term goals of the MDP.
Okay, thank you. Any questions to admin on this one? We've had our public hearing. Councillor Kush.
I'm ready to make a motion. The council gives second reading to bylaw 595-23, amending land use bylaw 490/17.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, that's carried. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion that council proceed with third and final reading to bylaw 595/23, amending land use bylaw 490/17.
Sorry, I'm gonna just ask a point of order here on our parliamentary end of things. We don't need this one if we've already done first reading. We don't need a motion to go to third unless we're doing this all in one fell swoop.
That's correct.
So we can just go to motion 3, can we not? Okay. Sorry, I didn't catch that right away then.
Okay, I'll change that to make a motion that council give third reading to bylaw 595/23, amending land use bylaw 490/17.
Thank you. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much. Item 5.2, borrowing bylaw. Victoria, you gonna take us through this?
Okay, yes. So this is a capital project as discussed at 8.3, Horse Creek Road resurfacing. So as part of the capital budget approval process, the county has determined that we will need financing from the Alberta Capital Finance Authority to support this. At this point, the county has about over $6 million in debentures, and by borrowing additional $1.9 million, the administration determines that the 20 years repayments would be best suited to the cash flow management. The capital project has an estimated useful life of 25 years. So with that said, the proposed bylaw will incur about $987,000 interest expense throughout the 20 years life. We are required to make 2 payments per year, about $49,000 per payment. And according to the Municipal Government Act, once this the first reading is passed, we have to make the advertisements in the newspapers for 2 consecutive days. It will be posted starting April 11th. and we will give 15 days for any interest electors to file petitions according to the Municipal Government Act.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Councillor Kush?
My one question, given the, is it 97,000 due in 2023, do we currently have that in our budget?
Yes. As a repayment, yes.
I'm gonna just ask two questions. So A, why the 20-year term chosen? And B, 2 payments per year. Is there any option for us to, like, that's almost $1 million in interest, so I'm, I know government doesn't operate like a business, but, is there an opportunity for us to, you know, make more frequent payments and shave a little interest off this thing?
Okay, so Your Worship, so the Alberta Capital Financing Authority provide kind of repayment plan for 3 years, 5 years, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30 years. The reason we picked 20 years because it's less than 5%. And as you probably know, it is hard to gain the interest rate right now. So 20 years is 4.9%. If we go for 10 years, 4.52. If you go beyond 20 years, like 25 years would be 5%, and 30 years 5%, or 5.4%, sorry, 5.04%. So, and recognizing that we also have existing debentures right now, we are paying close to $880,000 a year to all other outstanding debentures. So I can give you the layout that we're borrowing money on the Lexington foundations. We still have to pay for the White Court shops, and then the water and sewers, and then as well as the airport water and sewers projects. So those are the outstanding debentures that we're paying. So I have to consider the cash flow, as other councilors mentioning, is that do we have the sufficient cash to pay it out? And then to your second question, so whether we pay it early, yes. The only thing is that if we sign up for 20 years, we can prepay it early, but just like anytime you break a mortgage, that is penalties for free interest revenue for the government.
Okay.
Through the Chair Council, when reviewing the repayment schedule, one of the things we looked at was repayment funds come from the operating budget. So the higher the payments, the less funds there are within the operating budget, unless council increases the budgets by that amount to keep things negative. So we tried to strike a balance amongst those things.
When are those major debentures coming due? When do they start maturing? The other ones that you said were, what are we at, 6 million roughly in debentures?
Yes, right now 6 million, and then we have to make payments depending when we start to get the debentures. So we are scheduling to make payments like March, June, September, and December.
No, I mean, those other debentures, they're gonna mature and drop off the books eventually, so how far out are they?
I don't know, I can find out, but definitely for 2023, we have to make $880,000, not including this.
Right. Okay. Councilor Dean?
So, you know, we don't have, what I'm gonna talk about, we don't have in front of us, but when we went through our budget and we added, I think it was about $1.8 million into split between capital and operations, our CAO expressed some confidence that the 5-year recovery plan may be achieved prior to the 5 years. And the $3 million that we were given an opportunity to use, we used just about $2 million of it. I'm wondering if council, you know, if we had the debenture information in front of us, repayment information in front of us, if we would entertain perhaps changing the amortization on this from 20 years to 10 years. But I don't have enough information here to intelligently have that conversation, but I really would like to. I'd like to try and save the municipality $500,000 in interest if we can afford it. I don't know if we can from a cash flow point of view. I understand that. But I don't really have enough information in front of me to make that type of long-range plan. I'm wondering if we can ask administration to come back with the maturity dates and the payments and the recovery plan expectation to help us make these decisions.
Okay. Councillor Prestige.
I don't have a problem with that, but by delaying this, is it gonna hurt the projects?
Through the chair to Councillor Prestige, I believe the application deadline for the spring debenture is May, beginning of May. And Victoria, if you can correct me, the fall debenture, is it September?
Yes.
So one option, and Victoria can correct me on this, by delaying, we will miss the May application. I don't know if the county can fund it, fund the project now until September, and then apply for that debenture at that time and repay itself.
Councillor Dean.
So I'm going to suggest for us to consider maybe scheduling a special meeting and just dedicating it to this.
Okay. I just saw Victoria with her hand up.
Yep.
Really quick, so I'm going to open it up to her. Just she might have the information that we are asking for, and we can save ourselves a meeting. But let's see what happens.
Okay, so, Your Worship, so Lexington Foundations, it is at the interest rate of 4.89%, and the maturity date will be September 2032. The workshop in White Courts, it is maturity date on June 2031. The water and sewer extensions, it is due June 2031 at the interest rate 2.35%. And then the airport extensions this one is already complete.
So they're roughly what, 2 million apiece, or one's for how much? What's the?
So Lexington, it is. I'm just based on the December 31st, 2021 financial statements. The outstanding is 1.9 million, and the workshop in White Court, it is close to 2.9 million, and the water and sewage extensions is about 2.5 million.
Those were 20-year debentures as well?
I think so, because the due date is 2031, and some of them it looks like it's like some of them is 25 years.
So it was 2011, 2012. Okay. Councillor Prestige, then Councillor Wilk.
The Lexington debenture is really, we just did that for Lexington. We're not responsible for the payment on that, is that right?
No, we make payments.
Yeah, but they pay us, don't they? Lexington Foundation.
No, I think that is our portions.
Sorry, Councillor Wilhelm.
Just for you guys' information, I did a calculation, change in interest rate and then a decrease of from 20 years to 10 years. Our interest on the debenture goes from near $1 million to $499,000. So a savings of $500,000 in interest. And if you can, you could even increase our frequency of payback as well to 4 years, and it decreases even another $1,000, so just, there's options there to save on interest if we wanna look at it. But again, I think that impacts operations incredibly, because you're going from a $49,000
Too close to 100.
semi-annually to $125,000 semi-annually.
Sorry, go ahead, Andre.
Through Chair to Council, I should point out also that a lot of these paving jobs were done at the same time. We're anticipating that in 2024 budget, we will be bringing forward the West Mountain Road resurfacing. And we're estimating that one to be roughly 2.5 mil. And that'll be a debenture. And after that, within, I would say, 2 or 3 years, East Mountain Road will be due. So there's a number of these coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
So, again, I guess it's really hard for me to make a decision about this today. I'd like that background. I understand, everybody understands the reduced payment helps operation, but I'd certainly like to look long-term at this and not be forced to make a decision tonight.
Councillor Kush.
Just for clarification, now this is just passing the first reading of the bylaw to move it. It still has to come back to council before it's passed, right?
Yes.
And I
That's
believe
right, there's gotta be a public, there's gotta be a. Yeah. That would be the recommendation then. Let's do first reading on this so that we get it out to public and keep the process rolling. We can have further discussions on this, and more information, but again, it's a first reading thing.
Fair enough.
And that keeps us on our timeline, but we can still make decisions.
So to that point, if we give first reading, we can change the terms of the bylaw?
Yes?
That's a yes?
Administration would have to confirm.
Okay, you'd have to confirm?
I would have to look at procedures.
Okay. We've done it before, I just,
Yeah, I again, administration would just want to review legislation to ensure that we're.
yeah, I don't think we did it to a borrowing bylaw though, that's the thing, so there might be something a little different in a borrowing bylaw. There's one other question I had on the borrowing bylaw, and maybe I zoned out when you were answering it, but is there an opportunity to increase the frequency of the payments? There isn't.
No,
So it can't go monthly?
no.
Well, that's what I was kind of getting at. That's the problem with some of these. What's the interest rate on our $10 million line of credit?
I don't know because we haven't used it for a while, so we.
I'm just
But
curious
I would
what the
say the
difference.
problem is prime rates.
Prime?
Yeah, prime,
Prime's like what, 3?
5 point something now.
Is it 5 now? Okay. Councilor Prestige?
If we wait too long,
Unless we have special.
we miss a May one,
Maybe as part of the JP meeting.
then we have to wait till September. So that means these projects don't get done till next year. We'd have to re-tender. The paving contractor is doing a lot of work in the area
Yeah.
this year. So the tender next year could be a lot higher
She has
than it would be this year. So the money you save
yours.
on interest, you'll be just paying it the next year.
Perhaps, yeah.
Councilor Kush?
If just to that point, they were saying a couple of those roads, like the ANC road and stuff, the condition of those roads, if you put them off, how much money are we gonna put into them, be able to get them through another 2 seasons? Versus the interest payment also, that might end up actually coming out to more than we're gonna be saving. Just things to keep in mind, it's.
Well, if we could get clarity on that question, whether we can change the borrowing bylaw.
Through the chair to Councillor Dean, in the event that we change the bylaw, the first reading would have to happen again, and that impacts the advertising. So essentially, if the existing bylaw changes, it triggers the beginning of the process. Maybe acting CAO has an option that might work.
Is there an opportunity to put in the bylaw that the term isn't, it could be between a 10 and a 20-year term? And we stick that right in the bylaw and we can make the decision later?
Through the chair to council, is there a possibility of having a Teams meeting tomorrow with this on the item on the agenda? We can get all the information up.
I can do it, I think.
Your worship, right now, the bylaw saying that is financing up to 20 years.
So it says up to a 20-year.
So we could have the flexibility.
Yeah.
Does not exceed.
Yeah.
But I like, that's, that sounds good to me. We gotta convince our parliamentarian.
County shall repay installments not to exceed 20 years calculated at a rate. Okay, so that fits.
That gives us the room, right? Andre?
I believe the wording is the estimated timeline, but the estimated lifetime of the project finance under this. Okay,
It's under 3.
yeah,
Yeah, look at
So-
point 3.
yeah.
And I tend to agree. I don't really want, like, I look at, you know, 3 million, 2 million, 2.5 million that was spent back in 2011 and 2012. And that's the remainder of some big dollar amounts. So I don't wanna put a future council on the hook for some of these payments, but at the moment, I think we're getting a pretty good smoking deal on this paving project. And I don't think it's going to get better. My only concern is the term. And
Do the first reading and move on.
that's it. Victoria, you had a,
Yeah. So couple more options is that if we go for 15 years term, each payment is about $112,000, and then the total interest to be paid for the life of the 15 years will be $722,000. If we go for a 10-year term, each payment, which is every 6 months, is about $142,000, and the total interest payout would be $466,000.
Huge.
yeah. Okay, hang on one second here. I'm gonna go with Andre and then Councillor Kush.
Through the chair, after reviewing the bylaw wording, council can pass the first reading and we can move on, and the rest of the information can be brought back to the April 26th meeting.
Yeah, excellent. Councillor Kush.
Yes, with the information we got from Victoria to the administration, we theoretically went with the 10-year. That's roughly $280,000 a year in repayments. What? How does that affect operations?
Through the Church Council Kush, if the financial recovery plan is kept in line, 1% increase would mean that infrastructure would be reducing services to keep within that 1%.
Councillor Prestige.
Through the chair, we have to remember, next year we have another one, the year after we're gonna have another debenture. So if we make our payments too high now, we're gonna really struggle in 2 to 3 years from now, trying to make the payments.
Councillor Dean.
Well, that's exactly what I said, Bruce. Is that, you know, we don't have all this information in front of us, and I'd like to have it all in front of us so that we can can make a good decision.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a suggestion here that we do this on two motions. Number one is that we go ahead and pass the borrowing bylaw, sorry, somebody makes a motion that we go ahead and give first reading to the borrowing bylaw. Two, that the second motion gets made, that we have all the future projects coming to us along with our current debentures, where we stand on payments and the operating budget, and have that discussion at the April meeting. And then we can just determine, then we've got a good look at our future. Would that be acceptable to council? Councillor Williams.
I'll make a motion that council gives first reading to bylaw 59823, boring bylaw, Horse Creek Road resurfacing.
Thank you. Any discussion on the bylaw, now that we've discussed it at length? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Councillor Dean, go ahead.
So I'm gonna just make a suggestion that we go ahead with 5.3 and then come back with that second motion that you talked about.
Sure, we can do that. Let me find my agenda. That one's done. 3. Okay. Victoria?
So, for this second bylaw, sorry, not second bylaw, for the bylaw 599/23, borrowing bylaw, this is for the reconstructions of the Township Road 602A west of Range Road 125C, also known as the ANC Service Road. As per 8.4 items, this is a project that we require the financing of $1,707,000, $88.90. So the administration proposed to, for another 20-year terms, with a repayment of fixed of the principal repayment of $42,677.22, and meaning the first payment to the ACFA starting on December 1st for $84,500.90. And this will be at the interest rate of 4.9%, and this is a project with an estimated useful life of 25 years.
Okay. Any discussion? Councillor Culkin.
I'll make a motion that council gives first reading to bylaw 599/23, borrowing bylaw reconstruction of Township Roads 02A west of Range Road 125C, known as the ANC Service Road.
Thank you. Motion's accepted. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right. That's the end of our bylaws. So, does anyone want to make that last motion?
I'll give it a stab.
Councillor Dean?
I would ask that administration brings to our next council meeting a list of our current debentures and payment schedules, as well as a 5-year look at any future projects that will require debentures, and do an analysis in terms of cash flow with respect to our financial recovery plan and where the recovery plan is at, whether it's ahead of schedule, on schedule. Does that capture everything?
I'm gonna ask for a friendly amendment. Let's take it out instead of 5 years. I would say 10 or 15 year.
Sure.
Anticipated. Sure. You know, some of those big paving projects. Do you have anything that's 15 years out? Or is it just kind of 10?
No, probably in the 15-year, 10 to 15, we'll be looking at some other project, water and sewer.
Let's do 15 then, because I'm thinking, like I said, I'm looking at things that happened back in 11 and 12. So 15?
Yeah, sure.
Accept that as a friendly amendment?
I do, yep.
You have the motion?
That council direct administration to provide a report of current debentures, payment schedules, and a 15-year forecast on projects that require financing in comparison to the 5-year financial recovery plan to council's April 26th regular meeting.
Okay. That acceptable for council? I see everybody nodding. Any discussion on it? All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Where are we here? Correspondence and information. Anyone see anything in correspondence and information they want to bring forward? If not, I'll accept Councillor
I'll move
Kush.
the council report, or sorry, correspondence information for information.
Okay, moved for information. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay, we're into reports. Council reports and questions. Let's start with Councillor Williams.
Just a few things that were kind of happening around here. There's some trees removed west of the hockey rink, and lots of people thought that was the county and council that decided that, but it was actually pushed kind of by the Ag Society, but that was done. So it kind of looks messy over there if anybody drives through town right now. I attended that public meeting about the DML east of the marina. It was really well attended. A few of the councillors, or most of the councillors, made it there. That was pretty good. We were at RMA since the last meeting. That was good. Everyone was there. Also attended a BARC meeting. We talked lots of conversation about catalytic converter thefts. I brought that up last time, but they're actually pushing it forward now. So it'll be interesting to see how that rolls out. We also talked about the notification system there. There was some people thinking we should use it more for even like non-emergent stuff and different things, but there was quite a lot of pushback to that, so it's going to stay more like it is because people don't want to get spammed with notifications all the time. There's a Ag Service Board. It still has the scale survey open, so I'm trying to remind as many people as possible to fill out that survey. And then I was invited to there's a small group in the community that are looking into different grants and different community improvement opportunities. So that was neat to sit in with them. They're just getting started, so I don't have a whole bunch of information about it, but they're trying to get just looking into things of how to push ideas forward and how to get funding, not specifically from the county, but different grants and different things like that. So I think that's a interesting thing, and I told them I would continue to come to that. So that's about all I have.
Okay. Any questions, Councillor Williams? I got one.
Okay.
What did they're not serializing the catalytic converters, are they?
They're talking about engraving them. It's an engraving system and painting them. So they think that it's a bit of a deterrent. Is there something negative about that?
Well, I just saw,
I don't know anything about it.
I
so
saw one, and I can't remember what municipality it was, but they basically criminalized, unless you could prove ownership of the thing. So if you're the actual owner of the car and you're having to replace your own, you've got to prove that this cat is yours, kind of thing. Like I don't know. I was just curious if that was the thing, because it.
So if I can cut in, I don't know a whole bunch about it, but the information that would come to us was it's off your VIN number. So it's a portion of your VIN gets stamped on it. So then it makes that a lot easier if you have any paperwork on your vehicle with your VIN number on it. But so if there's something, or you know more about this, definitely bring it up to me because I can take it back to the. It
drives me nuts when it's the people that are stealing this stuff that are causing all the problem, and the people that end up paying for it are the ones that, I mean, you're now adding cost to the process of trying to replace the stupid thing. This is the difficult thing, because they're talking about serializing the cats to the car. So if you're having one, it has to be engraved then you have to have tracking paperwork for it on you with this thing.
You're talking like if you remove it yourself and you have ownership
Well,
of
I'm a
it?
mechanic, so like
Yeah.
I pull stuff off my cars all the time, but,
Yeah.
and anyways, it's a, whatever, they'll do what they do, but.
The problem they're having, like, I don't know how it is around Whitecourt, I don't hear all that as much, but around Barhead, it's really on the rise right now, and there's lots of people that are.
So back in what year was that? 2019? We sponsored a scrap metal registry. The scrap metal registry says that whenever you bring scrap metal into a scrap metal dealer, you have to leave your ID and all the rest of it. So that was designed to actually track the scrap metal that was coming in. There's obviously a black market for this somewhere, and they're not busting it, or they don't have the resources for it or something, but they're selling that product somewhere.
The tool that this gives, I think the intent behind it isn't so much, well, it is that when you sell it as well, but it's also if the RCMP pulls somebody over and they got like 9 of them sticking out of the back of the vehicle, at least they can look into that and have some ground of saying, you need to prove that you have this. Where copper wire and different things like that is so hard to track. So this is just a tool to try and track it is the intent. But.
Anyways. Okay, Councilor Dean?
Well, so along with everybody else here, I attended the RMA convention, March 20th to 22nd. On the 24th, via Teams, I attended an AcDev promotions committee. So this is a subcommittee that was created within our AcDev committee to just give some direction on how the committee would be involved with various AcDev projects. So the two that came up were the trade fair and the school expo. So what this committee did was just talk about what we wanted to focus on in terms of giveaways and our attendance at these events, which I think is going to bear some fruit so that we don't, in our AcDev meeting, we don't get bogged down with a 2-hour discussion about which logo to use and which promotional item to use. So then on the 28th, I was here in the fort for that DML transfer open house, and as Devin said, it was really well attended. I was happy to hear from a lot of residents. So as I went around the room, I met a lot of people. Devin introduced me to a number of people, and at first the residents were maybe a little bit shy to voice what they were thinking, but as I got that information right from the horse's mouth, it really helped me get a feel for what the folks around here were thinking about that. The next day, Reeve and I attended Minister Jones's meet and greet at the Sagatawa Brewing Company in Whitecourt. He's the Minister of Affordability and Utilities, and I don't want to sound cynical, I think it was largely a campaign stock, but it was a good opportunity for us to meet the gentleman. And on the 30th, Bruce and I attended, again via Teams, the Airport Advisory Committee meeting to make a recommendation to council on the logo. So there were lots of thoughts. Councillor Cush, we brought your idea up about woodlands, and I was kind of thinking maybe we could put woodlands somewhere in the contrails of the plane or something, and after much discussion, we deferred to the communications department and them working with the expert teams. I have just a notice, I guess, for anybody that's listening and for council, especially the Volunteers Awards Night is coming up on April 22nd, and Heather Anderson has put together a really cool program. So hoping everybody can attend. I can't, I'm sorry, I'm away that evening. And there are 4 categories for volunteer awards. And the deadline for submission is this Friday. So if there's people in your division that you know have done a lot of work for their community and deserve to be recognized, please please nominate them and pass it around, pass that word around to other residents. The last thing I wanted to bring up is, I don't know if I call it a concern, but for lack of a better term, I'm going to call it a road concern. And I know Mr. Bishan and I spoke about this. At this time of year, you get a snowfall like we had the other day. It drops to the ground and it's wet and slushy, and then overnight when it freezes, it becomes like concrete. And that snowfall happened on a Sunday. Of course, our crews aren't working on Sunday, so there's not much we can do. But in this particular situation, the grader in the area where I live was down. So there's no grader there. And we had a situation, I don't want to call it dangerous, but it kind of was dangerous. The road was down to one-lane traffic, and the grader's down, and we don't really have a backup plan. Mother Nature cooperated and kind of melted and created that one lane into 2 lanes. So the next day we were okay, but for that 24-hour period, through some pretty hilly section, we had 1-lane traffic. And I just want to put it on the horizon to think about in terms of some kind of a backup plan if we have a grader that goes down and we're in a situation that really needs to be attended to. What do we do? And I think we need to provide administration with some ideas. So that was something that I wanted to bring to this group's attention. And that's it.
Okay, thanks, Councilor Dean. Any questions to Councilor Dean? Okay, Councilor Prestige.
Well, same as everybody else, I attended the RMA convention, came back and we had our community futures meeting on the 23rd. They're kind of changing their meetings. They're gonna start at 10 in the morning and go till whenever they end. It could be 5, 6 in the afternoon. So that's gonna prove interesting. And then on the 24th, the Reeve and myself and Bert and administration had a meeting with the managers from ANC. Had a lunch meeting with them. It was very informational. They are doing a fairly big project. They're adding a bleach plant to the mill. They're gonna start making a different paper. The newspaper is kind of on its way out, so they have to change their way of doing business. So they're gonna start making glossy paper, computer paper, that kind of thing. The interesting with glossy paper, they have to bring a type of clay in from the US to mix with the solution they put on the paper to get the glossy. I actually watched a special on it last night. So that's kind of interesting. And they're still doing other projects on their property, the transload and that kind of thing. But they're continually trying to find different ways to generate business. So very good with them. And then Monday night, we had a community league meeting in Blue Ridge. The interesting thing there is we're doing renovations to the basement because of the flood. And West Fraser just volunteered their carpenter and his helpers to finish the basement off. They're buying all the material and contributing all the labor. So it's really nice to see that. And that was it.
Okay. Any questions to Councilor Prestige? No? Councilor Kulkin.
Yeah, it's been an interesting couple of weeks. RMA Spring Convention was really interesting. I was really quite interested in Jody Wilson-Raybould's speech there. It was not only motivating but quite interesting as to the different perspective that she has on how we do things. One of the things I did do there a lot, which is part of my responsibility with Rita, but also I think it sort of is part of what we need to do as municipal leaders is I talked a lot about regional development and how we can start to have a conversation how to mold some of the things that we're duplicating and some of the problems that all of the different municipalities have. And it was quite interesting that we're not the only municipality that is starting to ask those questions. So that was really, really good. And I was at the DML transfer, had some really good conversations with some of the folks there. Then on the last week I was for 3 days at the Alberta Social Housing Conference in Edmonton. Just came from there and came right to this meeting. And yeah, they're starting to have a complete review of how we look at funding social housing, and it's quite interesting as to how the different silos haven't talked with one another, and now that conversation has to start to happen just because of necessity, and what some of the really unique ideas that are coming out of that as to how we're going to not only be able to meet the needs but finance the needs that are really starting to be put under a tremendous amount of pressure in the current environment. So that was very interesting, and that is pretty much what my time was spent on this last round.
Any questions to Councillor Copen? Councillor Kush?
Yeah, there's everybody else has been a busy couple of weeks. Start off there, had a meeting with the YRL. A lot of what the meeting was about was just kind of an updates on where the libraries in the region are kind of at and where they're going with new possible cabinet coming up with election. Just a lot of it was based on, I guess, their kind of campaign to campaign the government as far as funding and stuff, and kind of what it looks like, and questions to ask your MLAs and stuff. But it was nice. We did get an increase for the libraries. It came out from Rebecca Schultz. It was an announcement there a couple weeks ago, so it was the first time in a few years they've had one, so really nice to see that way. We had the Whitecourt Regional Solid Waste meeting there. A lot of, I guess, good things kind of coming out of that. They're looking at possibly what it would look like moving the regional authority over to a commission. They've got kind of people doing some studies and stuff on that. We're waiting for all the information to come back. When the information and everything comes back, we are looking at hopefully presenting everything in one shot to both councils. This way, when we're getting it from the presenters, the information, instead of coming from somebody to somebody else, it's all firsthand with everybody. So hopefully, you know, at least a majority of councils can get together for that. So it's more, you know, from the presenters instead of the information being passed down. I believe the dates were May 24th to 27th. We have the Hamlet cleanup and the free dump days at the transfer station there for cleanups. So it is something coming for the county anyways. I believe the towns is the week before. Had a meeting with the Whitecourt Library Board. They're on pace for all their budgets, everything, you know, what they have and what they're working in, and all of their programming. They're getting excited to kind of start rolling out. We are going through the painstaking part of going over policies and updating a lot of the policies that haven't been done in a while. So they are slow going. It takes a while, but it's obviously stuff that needs to get done. Was invited to come out to the Anselmo Cemetery Board. They meet once a year. Again, they're very thankful for the funding that comes from the county, whether it be from the highway cleanups or the grants and stuff that we give them. Helps with their operation. They got small group of people out there, but they do a tremendous job with, you know, working and keeping the presentation for the community for what the cemetery is. We had a West End bus meeting. We had there. One thing that came out of the West End bus meeting, there was some discussion around the funding that they're getting from all the municipalities. We did sign in with the group. This was a few years ago on a long-term agreement for funding, but unfortunately, when that funding came up, nobody anticipated the inflation and the way that the markets and everything were going. And what they're looking at currently with what they're putting away each year into a reserve for bus replacement and bus repairs, and then their operations is their money going into the reserves every year is slowly getting lower and lower, just based off operational costs and where things are. There will obviously not happening right away, but when they come time for I guess a renewal on the contract, just so council is aware, there is most likely going to be an ask for an increase in the funding for that. And it's across all the municipalities, us, Mayor Thorpe, and Lac St. Anne. The DML transfer we had here with the public consult. One thing that actually came out of the consult, a few people were kind of echoing, and just an idea to bounce off, I guess, to administration and through council. With some of the historical value that we have in the community up here, it was asked if we could possibly look at like a plaque or some type of, you know, small monument or like a, I guess, historical marking where the old ferry crossing used to be on the river. It was a very integral part of the community and for, I guess, traffic flow in and out and everything in the area up until, I can't remember what they said the date was, I got shut down, but in the 50s. But yeah, just something like a marker where it is and kind of something explaining in the history. Our RMA we attended, again, echoing what Councillor Kuhlken said there, the speech from Jody Wilson-Raybould. I really did appreciate her talking, kind of the comparisons and the differences in growing up in the leadership from the indigenous standpoint and kind of how they develop their communities, and then kind of trying to shift that into our federal government, and unfortunately a lot of the missteps and kind of where our government sits right now. Had the, I guess, the privilege of going with the Reeve to the Mayor and Reeves meeting there. Just nice seeing some things, you know, kind of behind closed doors and what some of the other topics and stuff brought out from the leadership and communities are. Brings me down to, sorry, I had a big list here. Alberta Muni's President Summit. Had the privilege of actually going to that. It was a really, really good summit, a lot of information there. A couple of my big takebacks from that, given that it is in Alberta Muni's, their spring conference. One thing that we've always here at RMA and at our zone meetings and everything is always about the name change, going from AUMA to, you know, Alberta urban municipalities to Alberta municipalities. And sitting at several tables and talking to a lot of different councillors from around their area, I kind of understand the name change a little more now. Part of it is they have a lot of people and a lot of communities that are part of AM that don't identify with the urban part. You know, like a lot of the spring villages or the summer villages, they don't identify on the urban side. They identify more with the rural side. Now, I believe that possibly that's more of a planning or a division problem on the province's side with who went to AUMA and who went to RMA. But just from my standpoint, I do understand a little bit more on the name change, trying to be more inclusive to all of their members. And that also brings me to the next point. After talking to a lot of the people there, the biggest thing that, in my opinion, listening to the complaints and the point of views and stuff from the urban standpoint versus a rural standpoint is the lack of real education from urbans to rurals and rurals to urbans on the needs and the structure and how it is. A lot of the urbans, the way that they talk about how the money should be dispersed, they look at the needs and the inequities and the mill rates. But when you start talking to them about, you know, what their mill rates pay for versus what ours pay for, and the services that aren't typically provided in a rural setting versus an urban setting, when you're actually having that open table discussion, a lot of people, they kind of start to understand things. And then from the urban, rural side, you open up when they talk about a lot of the rec facilities and stuff too, but then you express that we also, we don't have a lot of the facilities, but we have the campsites, the lakes, the trails, everything else, that it still requires money. So I had a discussion with our Reeve after, and I do believe that a lot of the issues that you see between AM and RMA when it comes to a lot of the issues is bottom line education on both sides and what the actual needs for the different communities are. I don't think there's a true understanding there. And I guess the only other thing I want to bring up, I know I sent out a message to council here, but May 6th they have Insamo Spring Barbecue. Tickets are out. I'm not sure how many are left, but should be a really good time for anybody looking to attend. That's what I got.
Thanks, Councillor Kush. Any questions, Councillor Kush? Okay. Councillor Wilhelm.
Yes, sir. I had a light-ish schedule this last couple weeks, and I'm very happy for that because my job schedule is very insane. But I'd go to RMA with everybody. Just want to comment on that. I had some great conversations with both the MLAs that represent Woodlands County, MLA Van Dyken and MLA Long. They made themselves very available for some long conversations, so it was good to get a chat with them and see where the UCP's at and them understanding what the needs of our municipality are. I'm sure she's not watching, but shout out to Rebecca Schultz, the Minister of Municipal Affairs. In my short amount of time, she's the minister that has had the most accessibility for municipal representatives. It's crazy how much she's out there talking to anybody at any time, and so I appreciate that. I think it's really refreshing. And on that note, I'm not sure if anybody else noticed, but significant lack of NDP representation at the RMA, and how worrying that is for rural voters. They should note if they're not there to listen to your representatives, are they going to be listening to your concerns? So I don't have much else to bring up for the last 2 weeks, but I do want to mention to council that on the governance and priorities meeting on the 19th, I'm going to have to do that one by Teams because I will be out of town. So just pre-warning you all. And other than that, I got nothing else.
Okay. Any questions to Councillor Wilhelm? All right. So I had a rough go here. I did the RMA thing, and I got a few little interviews on the unpaid tax thing. So I don't think it's any secret that the oil and gas companies owed us a few dollars in taxes over the years, and so back in 2021, I think it was, that there had been resolutions made to RMA to lobby the provincial government to, deal with unpaid taxes, to do all these different things. We put forward a motion, I believe in 2021, and the resolution went ahead from Woodlands County to RMA to the zone and passed. And then it became, it was actually to lobby the AER directly to start acting like a regulator and actually not approve well transfers and some of these things. So finally, here we are in 2023, and believe it or not, the Minister of Municipal Affairs put out a ministerial order directing them not to transfer licenses if they haven't paid their taxes and not to issue new licenses if they haven't paid their taxes. So, woohoo! I guess we saw that one coming. So, hooray for us! I also had the pleasure of introducing Jody Wilson-Raybould, and it was interesting. What I noticed from where I was how much having that conversation, and you could see her jaw tighten as she talked about some of the things that she was dealing with at the government level, and the amount of stress that must have put on her, because They isolated her, they leaned on her, they pushed on her, they tried to knuckle her under, and when they couldn't do that, they drove her out. And I thought that it was, very honorable that she stayed with her, she showed the courage of her conviction, and she showed some real leadership in following through with that. So, and I continue to believe that that's one of the biggest shortages that we have right now in anything, and especially in government, is good, solid, principled leadership. So, my hat's off to her, and I told her so at that convention. The other thing, since we did have some conversations with ANC, there's also a small informal breakfast that I've just started going to. This used to happen. There's no agenda or anything. It's just a few companies that are in the area, and an opportunity to have some discussions on a very informal basis. The interesting thing, and certainly coming out of the meetings with ANC, is how incredibly important the power issue is going to be. Electricity, both in distribution and generation, and where the green market's going to take us. And we're in a bit of a pickle with that transition away from coal as rapidly as it was done, and to natural gas, which is a much more expensive fuel to generate power. So it's going to be interesting to see how we manage to stay competitive with this, because power right now is an absolutely huge component of our industrial future going ahead. Any of the large power consumers, man, they're really struggling right now. The amount of change in that market that's occurred is tremendous. And then I wanted to talk about Councillor Cush and I actually had a conversation about AB munis, and there was one thing that I wanted to, because I'd actually had this conversation with a couple of them before on the name changes, and they talked about, urban, rural, and well, we don't feel we're urban, and we feel more like we're rural. And I actually think that this is partly the problem of the provincial government, in the fact that Alberta's governed through, I've got the Alberta government page up here. Alberta's government governed through three general types of municipalities: urban, rural, and specialized. Specialized is a mix of urban and rural, and then urban is towns, villages, summer villages, and then MDs, hamlets, and improvement districts are all rural. So we didn't make the definitions, they did. The GOA did. So if you want to put different people in a different room, I think it would be a good idea to engage the provincial government and say, hey, these guys identify a little more in this direction. And, things are not the same as they were 40, 50 years ago. And I think that's where some of the confusion starts out, because, again, the government of Alberta has decided what's rural and what's urban, and they've kind of laid it out. So that was the discussion that I've had with them, and I agree. Small towns and small towns in a rural setting, I think we do much better off in the same organization, at least in the same room, having some conversations that we've got a lot more in common than we do that's different. But the rurals have some very strange land use that the urbans are not used to, like agricultural and some of these huge landmass problems that we have. So anyways, I look forward to engaging them a little bit further on that, and that pretty much concludes my report. If there's any questions for me, Councillor Dean.
So you attended the tour of ANC with the minister, and he gave a little talk, I understand.
Yeah.
Did he speak to ANC as a large consumer and a producer of electricity as to whether the government has a plan to kind of help them out?
Yeah, it's not going to happen overnight. The reality is, and I think this is part of the problem that we're having right now. So when you talk about energy generation, you can pour a gallon of gas into a bucket and say, this gallon of gas is going to take you 40 miles down the road. I'm dating myself, I'm using gallons and miles, but you can't do that with electricity. And it's really hard to have a conversation between base power generation, what the green power that's variable is going to look like, how stable is the grid. And right now, that's one of the biggest problems that we have, is that we had some brownouts go on during the season, and a lot of that is because of the incredible proliferation of the green technologies that are coming onto the grid right now, in the fact that they are, and I'm not saying this to knock green, it's just a fact that they are not throttleable, they're not reliable, and they're not base power generation. So when the sun doesn't shine and the wind doesn't blow, they don't work.
Right.
And that's part of the problem. So where's the sweet spot for the grid, the overall grid construction as a province, and power generation? Like, is this going to be SMRs in the future? Is it going to be, and part of that is because they built these coal-powered plants that were in locations where the coal was. So if you've got a really cheap mechanism to generate power, well, then you can afford a little bit more on your transmission lines. Well, that model's gone. But we're still stuck with the coal plants, and now we've changed them over to natural gas. So we had to pipe natural gas to them. They're in a crappy location now. They should have been moved. But the facility was never timed out. So they tried to convert it mid-life. Was the problem. So the whole thing is a mess. It's an absolute mess. I don't know what it's going to look like.
But John, what I'm asking is, what was his messaging to ANC about their concerns?
Well, I couldn't paraphrase what his messaging was. I wouldn't want to do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Fair enough. I feel like I'd be speaking for somebody, especially when it's a minister, and I won't go there. Maybe best to speak to someone from ANC, and that might be the best way to go.
Sure.
Anything else? Okay, I'll accept a motion to accept council reports for information. Councillor Williams.
I'll make a motion that council accepts the council reports and questions as information.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. That's out 10-2, CAO report.
Need to vote on that motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor? Thank you. That is carried. 10.2, CAO report.
Your worship, members of council, as was fanned out, road bans came into effect on Monday, April 3rd. I'll reiterate, it's been mentioned a couple times already tonight, but the volunteer appreciation nomination deadline is tomorrow. Friday, the 7th. So nomination forms are here if anybody would like to, and they are available at the office here and in LICO. A week and a half ago, we had an attempted property theft at the White Court shop. They attempted to steal 3 trailers. Sorry, it was one person, tried to steal 3 trailers from different routes, didn't get away with anything. Then took 6 truck tires, moved them about 100 feet down the bush line, and we retrieved those. Thankfully, we had 2 citizens call in, one about the trailers, so we were able to retrieve everything. And we had another citizen call in about the tires that saw them, so we got those. Communications is going to put something out thanking citizens. We are also going to reach out to those 2 individuals and thank them. When we were retrieving one of the trailers that was near a bush line, we found 2 catalytic converters that were stolen from our trucks 2 years ago. Unfortunately, they are useless now, but we got them back.
How did you identify them?
On the employment recruiting side of things, Our asset management coordinator is starting April 24th. The executive assistant, we are reposting for that position. The finance manager, an offer was made to an individual, but it was, they pulled themselves out of the competition. So we are reviewing our options, and we'll be moving forward with one or both of those. We filled our equipment operator position in Whitecourt in-house. Half of our seasonal laborers, summer students are hired, not getting a lot of applications, but we are getting a few. We hired a couple seasonal equipment operators, and we are also hiring a RAP student. So that is a student that is in high school, is going to work for us at the Whitecourt shop, heavy duty mechanic.
Nice.
We keep them on until they get 1,500 hours, then they can write their first year apprenticeship. And that is the highlights from the CAO.
Thank you.
Acting.
Councillor Dean.
I just want to add, with respect to nominating individuals for the volunteer awards, I just found out this week when I nominated that when you nominate somebody, you have to ask their permission. They have to agree to it. So you can't just randomly fire off a bunch of nominations. You have to make sure they know about it and they're okay with it.
Good to know. Okay, any questions to the CAO? The acting CAO. Nice tie.
40%.
Excellent looking tie.
Thank you. I just want to put it out there, I'm 40% done the acting. Yeah, but who's counting?
Okay, if there are no questions, I'll let Councillor Williams.
I'll make a motion that council accepts the CAO report as information.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Any discussion? We'll vote on this one. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. That'll bring us to, did I miss anything? Because this seems, we're good. Okay, then we're getting to 11.1, which is Committee of the Whole. And there are two items there, 11.1 and 11.2. Wait a minute, let me double check, make sure. Yep, 11.1 and 11.2. So we'll be moving into, I'll accept a motion to move into closed session on the Town of Whitecourt, Northern Gateway Public Schools, Living Waters Catholic Separate School Divisions, and Clonsale. Yeah, under FOIP 21, and 11.2, Code of Conduct under FOIP 24. Councillor Cush.
Make a motion to go into committee of the whole under FOIPs 21 and 24.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.